Hello everybody, we are here with your Discordia guide. We'll be rocking her in the mid lane. We're going to be starting off with our Mage's Blessing, Tier 1 Magic Focus, and a health pot, 2 mana pots, and of course our beads. Looks like we're going to probably be against a Nox in the mid lane, and they're going to have a Ganesh as well for the silences, so they got a lot of CC. Want to make sure we can get rid of all of that. On Discordia, we're starting off with the Mage's Blessing, presumably going to go into a Spear of Desolation. For the cooldown, we don't really need that much anti-heal, so I don't need a Divine, and I don't love Spear of the Magus as a first item anymore after they nerfed it. Still a great item, and you should probably buy it in most of your builds, but maybe not as a first item. We're going to start talking off about Discordia's passive, which you can see right here. Discordia's passive is pretty simple. Whoever has done the most damage on your team, they get extra power. So if you have the top damage done stat, you will gain this magical or physical power depending on what god type you are. So if you're a physical god, you get 7 at level 1. And if you're a magical god, you get 13 magical power at level 1. And of course that scales up per level. So the more damage you do, the more damage that you're going to get on Discordia, which are really actually good passive. Basically, it's kind of a snowball passive. If your jungler's doing the best, well, congratulations. Now he has more damage that allows him to do better. Bada bing, bada boom. You kind of snowball off of that, which is nice. Or it can just affect yourself if you have the most damage. Doesn't really matter who it's on because they're doing the most damage. So congrats. Get yourself that damage. We start our first ability on Discordia. This ability is our main source of lane clear, and it also goes over walls. You can see that I started slightly far away from the speed buff, so I could throw my 1 down on it just to maximize your getting to lane. And you can, in fact, throw that over walls. So what exactly does Discordia's 1 do? Discordia 1 sends out a giant projectile. That giant projectile then plays a little animation. And after it comes down from its animation, it throws out 6 tiny little balls, which also do damage. So the main damage comes from that orb, and then you can see the minor projectiles that come out, and those little projectiles kind of bounce around. They're kind of crazy. They're not a super reliable source of damage, unless you have the target right on top of where it is going to drop. How do you get that target right on top of where it's going to drop? Well, that brings us to our second ability, which is a root. Our second ability is a root. It is Strife, and it's also more than a root. It's got a very unique effect on it as well, which is a madness effect. If you hit one enemy god with this ability, like if I throw it out and I hit Nox, Nox is rooted. If you hit more than one enemy god with this ability, they will start to hit each other. They will start to do damage to each other. So this ability does damage to whoever it hits. It'll then root them for 1 second, or if it hits more than one, they're afflicted with madness for 1 second. They'll hit each other, which just means that they are doing damage to each other. That damage can be pretty nice. Especially in the later stages of the game. Nothing like getting a little bonus damage on your bonus damage. Our third ability is Discordia's escape skill. And as far as like how far you're gonna move with this ability, that's not great. You can see it's very short. This is as far as you can throw it out. It's not a very lengthy ability, but that is not where it thrives. It's got some really fun effects on it. So the cool thing about Discordia's dash is that 1, it's an immunity frame. Immunity frame in Smite just means that if you're about to get hit by an ability, let's say, for example, a Thanatos Scythe is being thrown at you straight away, as long as you're inside of the animation of this ability, you will not get hit by it, take any damage, nothing. You won't get CC'd. If you're about to get your mirror frozen and you use it, you won't get frozen, no CC, no stun, no nothing. But that's not all this ability does. This ability also you get a little bit of movement speed bonus inside the area where you land. So inside of this little circle, you've got a little movement speed buff. So you can run around pretty fast within this. You are also in stealth within that ability. I don't know if this is going to kill him or not. I'm throwing on my ulti just to make sure we kill him. It didn't kill him, so I'm glad that I used it. So you're in stealth in the ability. It's an immunity frame. And while you're inside of that circle, that's giving you the bonus movement speed, you also have lower cooldowns. Your cooldown on your 1 and your 2 will decrease. The longer that you're in it, the more it's going to decrease by, which is a very, very unique part of this ability. So if you watch my cooldowns when I'm inside this, you'll see that they start ticking down at a much faster rate than they would normally. And that tick rate continues to go up as you rank up this ability, which is very nice and probably one of the most underutilized facets of Discordia's kit. It's kind of weird to try to use this ability aggressively, but it's not a bad idea at certain stages of the game to use this to get your ability cooldowns back up. Really, really strong. Be careful. Sticking around, although I'm pretty low on mana. Finally, our ultimate on Discordia. The big fat golden apple. This is a very long range ability. It can bounce off of walls just like Huyi Ricochet. So you can use it to bounce it around corners, stuff like that. The projectile is really fast. It used to be slow back in the day, but they increased the projectile speed, so it goes. You can see how far this thing launches. It goes really far, and it has a set amount of length that it goes, and eventually, if you don't hit a god, it will just disappear. So it goes through minions. It does damage to minions. And if you hit an enemy god with it, oh lord, there's a lot of people coming over here. Maybe we can use this ability so we can show you. If it hits an enemy god, it is going to cripple the target, meaning that they can't use any movement abilities, any escape skills, anything like that. You can see right there that while I didn't hit the Nox with it, it did bounce off the wall and go back and hit the Camazotz. So this does initial damage when it hits. Boom. Then when it actually detonates, it does even more damage on that second round. On top of that, it spams their chat because it makes you say I'm the greatest in your chat. It literally makes everybody who get hit by it say I'm the greatest. It makes you intoxicated, just like if you were Bacchus ultied. And at the end, when it does that second detonate explosion, it can in fact spread to targets around you. So there's a little bit of a delay on that detonate portion, but if they've got enemy gods around them when it detonates, then the apple will detonate and go onto them and be like a chain effect and hit even more targets. So this ability can theoretically hit more than one target. It's really up to the enemy to make sure that they get out of range of each other after somebody gets hit by this. So for Discordia's abilities, most of them can be used over walls. Our first ability and second ability can both be thrown over walls. So you can throw your 2 over a wall. Your 1 will go through walls. So don't be afraid to go ahead and use that. Your 3, while a very, very, very small dash, can actually go over walls. This isn't quite as helpful for map walls, but does work on things like player-made walls. So Odin, Ymir, whatever, you can make sure that you jump over those walls. Even little itty bitty walls like this, you can see that you can jump over. It's not a huge deal, but you technically can do that. As far as our leveling order on Discordia, our leveling order is 4, 1, 2, 3. So ulti whenever you can, your 1 because it's your main source of damage and clear, then your 2, and then your 3. 4, 1, 2, 3 for your leveling order. On your Discordia 1, it has a pretty unique targeter. So if we look at it for a second, you can see where you're going to throw your ball. So you can either throw the ball point blank or you can throw at max distance. Wherever you put that targeter is where the actual ball is going to go down and where you are going to spread out your little 6 mini shots. So what you want to do standardly on Discordia, your very easy standard combo, 2, miss your 2, and then be embarrassed during your guide. That is the standard combo. No, the standard combo is you throw out your 2 roots them or gives them the madness effect, and then you throw down your 1 and you follow up with that damage. So 2, they get the madness effect, I follow up with the 1, they're all down to half HP. I sit inside of my 3 to build back up my cooldowns, so I can run back in here on the Ganesh. Ulti the Ganesh, now he has got the cripple effect on him, sitting in my 3 once again to get those cooldowns coming back down, and he has to slowly get away after popping some of his actives. Throw down some deep wards here in mid to make sure that I'm safe, and maybe look for somebody getting a little bit greedy. Speaking of greedy, it's me, Amadio. I'm gonna use my 3 just to get a little bit of movement between, a little bit of space between me and the Jingwei. Got hit by that Noxel, but that should be okay. I'm just gonna back up as soon as the bleed is off me. So the standard combo for Discordia, really not that crazy. If you can consistently hit your 2, then you're gonna consistently hit your 1. Now that we've got 30% CDR, I'm going to go into Spear of the Magus. I'm just going to get that bonus flat pen online. I'm looking at their team comp. I'm looking at their builds. This is a very squishy team, so I'm not super concerned about percent penetration in this game. I want more flat pen, so I'm going to have the flat pen from Spear of Desolation. I'm going to get flat pen from Spear of the Magus, and I've already got 30% CDR, so I don't really need more CDR right now. Your ultimate is used both as an initiation tool and as a finishing effect. So preferably the way you would like to start a fight is by getting your 2-1 combo over a wall on the enemy and then following up on that with your ultimate. Or if you use your 2 and you hit somebody with the root and you know they can't move, there's nothing wrong with just using your 2 and then your ulti, because then that's going to cripple them and you're going to get that guaranteed damage off, which is really, really nice. None of Discordia's cooldowns are that long. You can see even my ulti right now with 30% cooldown is only 63 seconds. The 1 and the 2 will basically have no cooldown as we move into the later stages of the game, and you really see us utilizing that 3. That cooldown is on our 1 and 2 are going to go down to like maybe 2-3 seconds sometimes in these fights. Turning back around onto the Nox. Getting a little bit aggressive here, but I think it's gonna be fine. Nox uses beats. I'm gonna throw down the ulti, see if I can't try to hit him with anything. Nope, not gonna be able to get them. That's fine. Throwing down my 2 to zone out the AMA. And we're gonna back up, use our dash here kind of aggressively to get our cooldowns back up on our 2 and our 1. So that way I can come back up and not be afraid. On Discordia, as far as your matchups go, Nox is a very interesting matchup. So on Discordia, you love to go against gods that you can avoid their big damaging ultimate. The most classic matchup that's great for Discordia is Ra. So against Ra, his ultimate should basically never hit you, because you can use Discordia 3 for the immunity frames. Ra ultimate should basically never hit you as long as that is up. It is a great matchup for you. He doesn't have a getaway skill. You just throw down your 2-1 over and over again. You outpoke him, you get a bunch of damage on him, and he can't ever hit you back with the ulti. So that's what you're looking for in Discordia. You're looking for somebody that you can avoid a large portion of their damage with your 3, as well as anybody that really, really has a hard time with cripples. Woojer comes to mind. Woojer, when he gets crippled, can't jump away. He ends up being a sitting duck, as well as other gods like that of the sort, things like Neith and whatnot. Any god that you can cripple and they're a sitting duck is great because of your ultimate. Some examples of some bad matchups is actually what we have right here in the game. Nox is a great example. While Nox isn't a very good god right now, she does actually counter Discordia really hard. Gods like Ganesh, Poseidon, Nox, these are really hard for Discordia because they can hit you with an ability that silences you or cripples you before you actually get your dash off, which means that you can't utilize those immunity frames. So if Nox throws down her 2 on me, and then her 1, I'm stuck inside of that silence. I cannot use my 3. I would have to preemptively guess that Nox is gonna use her 2, which really just isn't going to happen. So anything that can prevent you from using your dash is a hard matchup for Discordia.
Retreat.
Heading over to left lane here, trying to rotate over. Make sure I'm maintaining my farm. Ganesh has used his dash here. There's the silence coming out that we talked about. I gotta be careful from these guys coming over from the side. I'm gonna throw down my ulti right there onto Jingwei, get some damage on the more problematic target. Jingwei doesn't actually know that I'm still here. Unfortunately, I did not hit him with the 2 or the 1. I'm gonna try to get out of this one for now. Is the Camazot's gonna camp the corner? Yes, they are gonna camp the corner on that. So they're going to be able to get the Gold Fury. Looks like they have the rotation as well from their solo laner. So I'm just going to let them have that Gold Fury. Go ahead and back it up. Our build focus on Discordia is cooldown and power. We love cooldown on Discordia because of how well it stacks with our 3. You get yourself a lower cooldowns on your 3, right? And then when you use it on abilities that already have super low cooldowns, that number that it's giving you, that reduction is just ridiculous. So think about it this way. If your ability has a 12-second cooldown, and then you get -1 second off of it, it takes you about 12 seconds, right? But if you get that cooldown already down to like 8 seconds, and then you're getting that bonus CDR on top of that, that is gnarly. I'm gonna throw down this ulti, try to get the Discordia. Unfortunately, the bounce is not gonna be in my favor that time. I'm just gonna sit here around mid, but he knows that I haven't left my stealth. In our team fights as Discordia, poke is the name of the game. Discordia loves poke. You're not super committing to one-shots on Discordia until the very late stages of the game. But in the earlier stages of the game, you're committing to poking. I've got to back up because I've got no mana, and I'm going to start to work on a Soul Gem. Soul Gem is going to give us that last 10% CDR for now, as well as the fact that because we're spamming our 1 and 2 so much, we're going to be able to get that Soul Gem proc very easily in these fights. So your goal on Discordia is literally to stay behind walls. Walls are your friend. Throw your 2 and your 1 through them all day long. Because you're trying to throw abilities over walls, that means wards are crucial. You should be buying wards on every character, but particularly on Discordia, make sure you're warding important things so that you can stay back safe around walls while still getting that poke. I'm gonna dash in a little aggressively here, get those cooldowns going, looking for the AMA, throwing down the 2, throwing down the 1, and the ultimate. That's a great taunt. So what happened there is an interaction we haven't actually talked about yet, which is the Discordia ultimate also works like Cupid Heart Bomb. So I hit the AMA. I hit AMA with my ultimate, and then the AMA died. Because she died, the ultimate exploded and went onto the Camazots, just like the way that Cupid Heart Bomb works, where if the target that you're fighting dies with the Heart Bomb on them, it makes it automatically explode and do that spreading effect. Just kind of how all abilities with those explosion effects in Smite work on them. If the target dies, they just automatically detonate, kind of like Surcat. Anybody with like a detonation type ability, that's how it works. Outside of literally Zeus's ability, detonate, because that's not really the same type of ability. Just gonna peel a little bit for my Athena, throw down that root on Ganesh. Yep. Let's be careful. We don't really want to fight this right now. I want to back up, grab my soul gem, and another sentry ward. So be very content on Discordia to get a little bit of damage off at a time. Your little poke damage, which really isn't that little, it's going to be about 50% of somebody's health. If you hit him with the 2-1, is awesome damage, and you don't have to commit to every single kill opportunity that you have. I got the madness effect there onto the Jingwei and the AMA, force them to use some abilities. Saving my ultimate and my dash for now. Now I'm gonna go try to get the ulti onto Nox. I got him. Should die from the explosions right there. He does. Now I'm switching on to Ganesh, diving over to him, throwing down the 1, and I'm gonna keep chasing him out, waiting for my 2 to come up. 3, 2, 1, throwing down the 2. Gonna be able to hit him with that and a couple of auto attacks while he is silencing me to finish off that kill. Here, Jingwei in the jungle, so I'm keeping my eyes out for that. I saw him right over here near mid. I'm gonna try to use my dash here, and I'm gonna throw down my Aegis inside of there. Gonna keep trying to run away from this Camazotz. I got a little soul gem proc, which is nice, and we're gonna be able to get that kill as well. And now I'm gonna walk over and steal their red buff. So right there, I use my dash to get a little bit of distance between me and the Jingwei, and then I throw down my Aegis because she is slapping right now. Presumably, yes, does have that rage. So between the rage and her too, she has got a lot of crit chance that I've got to be aware of. She's probably the scariest target for me right now in the game. Jingwei starts auto-attacking me on top of the silence, potential on the Nox and the Ganesh, and that is very scary. So I'm comfortable with the amount of damage that I have right now. I've got 40% CDR. I've got good flat pen, but now we're getting later into the game. Targets are going to start to getting tankier. You can see the AMA is getting the defenses. The Ganesh has got the defenses online. So now I'm going to work my way into an Ob Shard. This is probably going to be my only real percent pen item that I have this game. Give me 20% plus that extra bonus 10% on that first ability that I cast. Should be plenty of penetration for me in this match. Still undecided on whether or not we're going to go into a little bit more pen / damage items like a Soul Reaver, or if we're going to head into some raw damage like a Rod Up Tahuti. Still yet to be seen. Looking at Ganesh just because he's right in front of me and I can get some good poke on him. Nox ulti is down. I'm going to use my dash to get my abilities back up. Now I've got to actually sit back here like a Camazotz. Get rid of this ward. That was good zoning from that Camazotz to get me away from his Ganesh. I actually think we can fight this fight right now. I'm looking for the Nox, trying to see if he'll dash away. He does. Trying to peel for my Nezha here. I don't actually hit that ability, but I can stand in front of him. Once again, dashing aggressively for these cooldowns. And now I'm going to hold down my W key down the mid lane. I think Camazotz ulti. I probably should be a little more careful here, but I'm not going to be. Ooh, I got the madness effect right there onto Nox and the AMA, forcing them to run back towards each other and putting them in a horrible spot. Getting that 2-man taunt on Discordia is absolutely crucial in team fights. You can actually land it on more than 2 people, but you just have to have at least 2 in order to get that effect. We've got Oni creeps coming up in mid as well as coming up in left, so we can go aggressive. Good Athena taunt, allow me to immediately get that on her. Before I use my 3, I'm gonna go ahead and use my 1 and my 2. That way I'm abusing that cooldown on my 3. If I would have just used my 3 then without using my 1 and my 2, then I wouldn't have been able to use it there in case there was another engagement coming our way. Ganesh getting crippled by the Rama arrow allows us to turn around, but now we really need to back out. We're too low. We want to make sure that we got 2 Phoenixes down, so let's play it safe, back it up, head over to the right-hand side, and attack the fire giant.
This looks legit. I'll take it.
Let's go ahead and rank up our actives right now. Sometimes on Discordia, as well as other gods that don't have like a true getaway skill, I like to rank up my actives just a little bit early. Help give you the reassurance that your actives are going to be up in team fights, oftentimes that can be the difference between life and death for some characters. And so rather than maybe selling my Mage's Blessing there and getting a little bit more damage with like a tier 2 Rod of Tahuti, instead I'm just gonna get the ranked up actives, keep that Mage's Blessing, and maintain that 40% cooldown for now.
Attack fire giant.
We should probably just be doing the big fire, but this is all right. I'm gonna keep myself outside of the fire giant range just in case a fire breaks out. I don't want to be stuck inside that pit, and I can use my abilities through that fire giant wall for the secure, while making sure that just in case a fire breaks out, I don't have to like use my getaway skill just to like jump over the fire walls or something. Take any damage I don't need to be taking from like a magma pool or something silly. Now that we're heading down the lane, my goal in these fights is to stand back.
All right.
I want to stand back as far as humanly possible while being able to poke. So I'm looking for little guys over this wall that are slightly out of position. I'm looking for anybody that moves forward onto somebody else. My team is going for it hard, so now I'm just looking for the AMA. She gets rooted by that. I'm using my 3 aggressively. I'm gonna throw down the ulti towards Ganesh. Got him with the cripple, hit him with the 2-1 combo. Bada bing, bada boom. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. And now we should be able to follow up right there on our Athena taunt, grab ourselves yet another kill, and wrap up this game. So, for Discordia here at the end of the game, we didn't finish our build, right? So what would have been our last 6th item and maybe what we would sell our boots for? So in this particular game, we talked about how they weren't very tanky. So there's a good chance we just went into some more damage-oriented items. When I sold Mage's Blessing, I was probably going to go into a Rada Tahuti just to get that flat power damage online in order to be hurting those squishies even more. And then if we sold our boots after that, I probably would have grabbed something with another 10% CDR because selling Mage's Blessing and then adding Red Pot meant I would still be at 40%. But if I sold the cooldown boots, I'd be back down to 30%. And I'd really like to maintain it around 40 at the end of the game for Discordia. So something with another 10% CDR would have been in my future in that particular game. Chronos Pendant is also a notable item for Discordia. That's a great item to build on her. I just don't super love it right now in the meta, the way it works in the early game. So keep in mind a Chronos Pendant for a later in the item build, especially if early game, instead of like a Desolation, you had to go a Divine Ruin for anti-heal, then you have a lot more room to grab that 20% CDR item. And that is our Discordia guide.